So, have you ever been listening to a guitar part and you notice this subtle kind of breathing or pulsating sound?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like the sound itself is gently ebbing and flowing.
Exactly. Sometimes it's really fast, like a flutter. Other times it's, well, slower, almost hypnotic. That's the kind of thing that can make a simple chord sound, I don't know, iconic. Really sticks with you.
It really can.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. It's the fascinating and honestly often surprising story of the guitar tremolo effect.
Yeah, and it's not just about a pedal, is it? It's how this seemingly simple idea, volume modulation,
Hmm.
actually shaped entire genres, changed how we hear the guitar.
Right.
And it's amazing some of the most influential sounds, they have these really unexpected, almost kind of quirky origins.
So,
So we're going to trace that whole journey, chronologically, how it went from these clever manual tricks guitarists did
hmm
all the way to sophisticated digital stuff, solving problems, opening up new creative doors for musicians. It's quite a story.
Okay, so that's the mission today then. Follow this winding path of volume modulation. From, like you said, ingenious hacks by early players
Right.
to the very first commercial effects boxes, then into amps, the boutique pedal comeback, and finally the digital age.
And we'll look at the key circuits, the innovations.
And definitely the artists who made those sounds famous. Okay, let's
Well,
get into it.
let's do it.
So, before any electronics, any pedals, how did guitarists even get a pulsating sound? They got really creative, didn't they? Almost wrestling with the
Oh,
instrument.
absolutely. You picture someone frantically rocking their volume knob back and forth.
Yeah, or like quickly flipping the pickup selector switch.
Or even pumping away on an early volume pedal with their foot.
That was the tremolo, real raw physical effort to get that pulse.
Exactly. And, beyond those immediate manual tricks, some folks were already tinkering, building homemade electromechanical things.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, think about the Rickenbacker vibrola, on their Spanish guitars. That actually mechanically moved the bridge to get a vibrato effect. Now, that's pitch modulation, not volume, so it's not true tremolo.
Right, different effect.
But it shows that same desire, that early drive to add movement and life to the sound. It definitely foreshadowed the more electronic stuff to come.
So the ingenuity was there, absolutely. But consistency, ease of use, probably not so much.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Which makes the arrival of dedicated electronics feel even more revolutionary.
Okay, so what was the first big game changer? The thing that took the sound beyond just pure physical effort? What brought tremolo to the masses, so to speak?
Right, that would be the Dearman Tremolo Control, also called the Tremtrol.
Theorem and Tremtrol. Okay, when was this?
Came out around 1941,
Uh,
and yeah, it's widely considered the very first commercially produced guitar effect ever.
wow, the first one? What made it tick? I heard it was kind of unusual.
Oh, it was completely unique. Its core mechanism was basically, get this, a small jar of electrolytic fluid.
Sorry, a jar of
Yeah.
fluid.
Electrolytic fluid, yeah. And inside the jar, there was this motor-driven spindle that literally shook the fluid.
You kidding?
Not at all. As it shook, the fluid would sort of splash around and rhythmically open and close the signal path, modulating the volume.
That sounds precarious. Plugging your guitar into a shaking jar of liquid.
Ah, yeah, you can imagine the initial reaction.
Yeah.
But hey, it worked. And it produced this really smooth, pleading volume tremble.
And crucially, hands-free, right?
Exactly. That was the key. Hands-free pulsation at stage volume. That was huge.
I bet.
It just opened up this whole new world of sustained, hypnotic grooves, textures you just couldn't maintain manually. The guitar could suddenly breathe on its own.
So it became more rhythmic.
Yeah, less purely a lead instrument, more of a foundational rhythmic element sometimes.
Right.
It really shaped early blues and rock and roll sounds, decades before solid-state pedals were even a thing.
Wow. And Dearmond, or rather Rowe Industries who owned them, they kept refining it.
They did. After World War II, they tweaked the design. In '46, they put out the Model 601 Tremolo Control.
Okay.
And then an even more compact version, the Tremtrol 800, came out in 1948.
And people started using these hydro fluid things.
Yeah.
Any famous early users?
Oh, yeah, they found our champions pretty quickly. Think about Bo Diddley.
Ah, the Bo Diddley beat.
That's the one. His big 1955 hit, Bo Diddley. That iconic syncopated riff, that's powered by one of these Dearman units.
No way. I always wondered how he got that sound.
Yep, and blues guys too, like Big Bill Brunsey, they were early adopters. That unique fluid mechanism, it really laid the groundwork to find a sound for a generation.
So the Dearman was this groundbreaking external box. But, having it built right into the amp must have seemed like the next logical step, more
Well,
convenient, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
And that shift to integrating tremolo directly into amplifiers was the next major leap. Made the effect way more accessible for everyone.
So who got there first? With amp tremolo.
Well, that's always a bit debated, but the Premier 66 amp might have been the very first, around 1947. Then Gibson followed quickly with their GA50T in 48, and Fender, famously, with the Tremolux in 1955.
Tremolux, right.
And by the early 60s, amps like the Fender Princeton, the Gibson Falcon, they had tremolo built in almost as standard. It became expected.
And were these amp circuits all the same, or?
No, there were mainly two different ways they did it, two primary circuit types,
Yeah.
and they each gave a distinct tremolo voice.
Okay, what were they?
So the first was often called bias wiggle. It was tube-based.
Bias wiggle. Okay.
Yeah, it basically modulated the bias voltage of one of the amp's tubes using a low-frequency oscillator, an LFO, like a slow electronic pulse.
And what did that sound like?
That gave you a really warm, kind of rounded tremble.
Yeah.
Smooth, almost like the guitar itself is sighing gently.
Nice. And the second type?
The second, and probably more famous one, was optotremolo, or optical tremolo.
Popto, like light.
Exactly. You'd use a light-dependent resistor, or LDR, paired up with a small light source, usually an incandescent bulb back then, later an LED.
How did that work?
Well, the LFO would make the light blink on and off, or pulse brighter and dimmer. The LDR sees that light, and its resistance changes accordingly, which affects the signal volume.
Clever. And the sound.
It produced generally a smoother, often deeper pulse than the bias wiggle. It's often described as having a lopsided wave shape.
Lopsided.
Yeah, I think maybe a quicker swell up in volume, followed by a slightly slower, more dramatic fade out. Creates this real throbbing quality.
Ah, okay. And if I hear optotremolo, I'm immediately thinking Fender amps.
You got it. That optotremolo circuit became absolutely iconic in the Fender Blackface and later Silverface amps from the 60s and 70s.
And that's the sound of surf music, right?
Totally. Surf players like Dick Dale just loved it. Those Fender amps gave them those classic wave-riding tones, perfect for that driving rhythmic sound. It basically defined the sound of a whole genre.
Incredible. So for a long time, built-in amp tremolo was kind of the standard.
It really was, yeah.
But then things shifted again, didn't they? In the, 90s?
Yeah.
Standalone pedals made a comeback?
They absolutely did. Starting in the 90s and into the 2000s, 2010s, you saw this real renaissance for dedicated tremolo stomp boxes.
Driven by boutique builders, right?
Mostly, yeah. And it was interesting because a lot of pedal makers at the time were focused on overdrive, fuzz, maybe chorus and delay. Tremolo felt like a specific niche that saw this resurgence.
What were some of the key pedals or innovations from that era?
Well, a big one was the full-tone Supertrem ST1. Came out in 96.
I know that one.
Right. It used a custom Opto 1 photocell, their take on that light-dependent component, and a JF gain stage.
Okay, JFET.
Yeah, a type of transistor known for clean amplification. They were aiming for and pretty much achieved what they called true amp-like tremble, really nailing that vintage optical sound in a pedal.
And they did a stereo one later?
Yep, the Supertrem 2 followed in 2013. Then you had companies like Electro Harmonics jumping back in too.
EHX, always innovative.
For sure. They had the stereo Pulsar, which was solid state, and the Wiggler, which was actually tube-based. Both offered classic sounds, but also some more dynamic options.
And wasn't there some really wild stuff too, like rhythmic patterns?
Oh yeah, that's where Zvex came in, Zachary Vex. His Seek Trem pedal, and later the Trem Pro.
C-Creme, right. Looked crazy.
It was crazy. It introduced step sequencing to tremolo, basically rhythmic gating. You could program these complex, choppy, rhythmic patterns.
So not just a smooth pulse anymore?
Nope. Suddenly, tremolo could be this intricate rhythmic texture machine. Totally new territory for the effect.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from manual to that fluid thing, into amps, back out to boutique pedals.
Yeah.
What's next? The digital age, I guess.
Exactly. The arrival of DSP, digital signal processing, and multi-effects units, that had a huge impact on tremolo, just like everything else.
How did digital change the game for tremolo specifically?
Well, connecting it to the bigger picture, digital algorithms just offered incredible precision and flexibility.
Right.
You can suddenly have perfectly precise LFO shapes, sine wave, square wave, triangle, ramp up, ramp down, you name it.
Total control.
Total control.
Yeah.
And perfect tempo syncing with your song's BPM, which was difficult or impossible before. Plus, really sophisticated stereo panning tremolo effects, where the sound pulses back and forth between speakers.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah. It really allowed players to get that classic vintage vibe we've been talking about, but with all this modern flexibility and control layered on top.
And what kind of gear brought this to players?
Oh, things like the early Line 6 POD units were
Oh,
huge.
yeah, the POD kidney bean.
Huh, yeah. And later, more high-end stuff like the Fractal Axe FX,
Mm.
and of course, countless software plugins for DAWs. Suddenly, these incredibly complex and precise tremolo sounds were available on pretty much every rack and pedal board. Super accessible.
It's just amazing seeing that whole evolution from a quirky jar of liquid, like you said, to these hyper-precise digital tools. Its cultural impact just kept rolling, didn't it?
It really did, continuously. I mean, think back again to Bo Diddley. 1955, Bo Diddley?
Right.
That track introduced mass audiences to what a tremolo pedal could do, to find a sound instantly recognizable.
For sure.
And then, like we said, surf music. Dick Dale and others leaning so hard on that Fender amp tremolo, it became the sonic identity for that whole genre.
Absolutely. And what's cool is it's not just history, is it? It's still so relevant.
Not at all just history. You hear it all the time in modern music. Indie artists, ambient stuff.
Like who?
Well, bands like Radiohead have used it really creatively. Tame Impala get some amazing textures using tremolo. They're exploiting both those vintage boutique pedals and the precise digital plug-in emulations.
So they're using it for rhythmic texture, really.
Exactly, creating these evolving, shifting rhythmic beds. It just proves how timeless and adaptable the effect really is.
Yeah.
Still inspiring people today.
So summing this all up, it's been quite a journey from, yeah, that humble jar of fluid all the way to these super complex digital emulations.
Incredible journey.
Tremolo really stands out as one of the oldest, but also one of the most continuously expressive guitar effects out there, constantly reinventing itself.
And that raises a key point, I think, that rhythmic pulse. It feels just as vital and useful today as it must have back when that first Dearman hit the scene in 1941.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect example of how a seemingly simple concept, just making the volume go up and down, can evolve in so many ways and keep inspiring musicians across totally different generations and genres.
So here's a thought for you listening. Next time you're putting on some music, maybe later today, consciously listen for it. Listen for that subtle or maybe not so subtle rhythmic pulse. Try to pick it out in different songs, different styles, different eras, and just think about how that one single effect, that unassuming volume wobble, has genuinely shaped so much of the musical landscape we know. It's kind of everywhere once you start listening for it.
It really is a fundamental part of the electric guitar's voice.